All right, let's just jump right in. If you're a leader today, you probably feel like you're constantly just putting out fires, right? Just reacting to one thing after another. But what if the most important leadership skill isn't about reacting faster, but about seeing things sooner? That's what this is all about, making that critical shift from a constant cycle of reaction to a real discipline of foresight.
So, I want you to ask yourself this one simple question. Really think about it. Are you reading the weather or are you reading the barometer? It sounds basic, I know, but the difference between those two things is at the absolute core of everything we're about to unpack.
And this lays out the two modes perfectly. On one side, you've got reaction. That's the weather report. It's just describing what's already happening. It's visible, it's loud, it's right in your face. But on the other side, you've got perception. That's the barometer. And that is a whole different ballgame. It's about detecting those subtle, quiet little changes in pressure before the storm even shows up. It's about sensing what's about to happen. And man, that takes some serious focus.
So this barometer skill actually has a name. It's called inner vision. And we need to be crystal clear about something. This is not some mystical gift you're either born with or you're not. No way. The source material frames it as a formal leadership discipline. It's a capacity, a skill that you can build and cultivate through deliberate practice, the ability to see those game-changing shifts long before anybody else does.
Okay, so if this skill is so incredibly valuable, why don't we see more of it? Well, the problem, a lot of the time, isn't actually the leader, it's the system they operate in. And that brings us to this amazing metaphor, the scout versus the courtroom, and it explains exactly why your own organization might be fighting against foresight.
And here's the tough pill to swallow. Our organizations, by their very nature, are structurally designed to reward reaction over perception. The systems we work in every single day are often actively working against the one skill we need the most.
So what does that actually look like, day to day? Well, it looks like this. These are the systemic barriers holding us back. You've got the reward for certainty, that constant demand for hard data, for metrics, right now. Then there's the culture of validation. The pressure to get everybody to agree before an idea is considered safe. And of course, a deep, deep intolerance for ambiguity, which means we prioritize getting a quick answer over getting the correct one. Throw in all the constant noise that trains us to only listen to the loudest alarms, and the inherited stories we tell ourselves, and pretty soon you've got a system that just crushes independent thought.
And this quote, wow, it just captures the entire conflict perfectly. Inner vision is the scout who notices the snapped twig, a subtle signal of impending change. The modern system, however, operates like a courtroom, demanding physical evidence and multiple witnesses. The scout sees that first tiny clue, but the courtroom? It needs a mountain of proof.
And here's the inevitable result. By the time that courtroom finally has enough proof to act, the scout's critical advantage, that early, precious warning, is completely gone. It's over. And this leads to what the sources call strategic homogeneity, which is just a fancy way of saying everyone ends up playing on the same old map, reacting to the same old news.
Okay, so that's the problem, and it's a big one. But the good news is we can do something about it. So now let's pivot to the solution. How you can start cultivating perception as a discipline and actually build your own inner barometer.
The source material lays out a really clear three-part practice. First up, quiet observation. This means you have to intentionally listen underneath all the noise for those faint patterns and subtle signals. Second, synthesize experience. This is where you connect what you're seeing today with everything you've learned in the past, so you can spot those recurring patterns. And third, and this might be the hardest one, structured reflection. You have to fight that urge for a quick answer and instead commit to a slow, deliberate process of connecting all the dots.
Now, to do any of that effectively, you need something the sources call mental sovereignty. And this is a discipline all on its own. It's the act of reclaiming your own judgment from all that outside pressure, from the need for consensus, from the old stories, even from the influence of automation. It's the absolute foundation for keeping your thinking clear.
Now, I can hear what some of you might be thinking. This all sounds a little fuzzy, a little bit like guesswork. And that's a fair point, but this is not about throwing data out the window. Not at all. It's about reconciling that inner vision with real rigor. And the best way to think about this is the metaphor of the compass and the surveying tools. And here's how it breaks down. Vision, that's your compass. It's what gets you thinking in the first place. It points you toward a destination and helps you ask the big question, where should we even be looking? But rigor, that's your set of surveying tools. That's what refines your thinking, plots a path you can actually walk, and tests whether your insight holds up. They are two totally different jobs, but they absolutely need each other.
And you have to get this balance right, because the risk of getting it wrong is massive. Vision without rigor, that's just speculation.
It's a daydream. But, and this is the part people miss, rigor without vision, that's just optimizing for a map that's already out of date. You're getting better and better at going to the completely wrong place.
So rigor isn't the enemy of vision. It's what makes vision powerful. It guides your questions, telling you which of your assumptions you really need to challenge. It gives you a framework to test those early signals without just throwing them out or following them blindly. And most importantly, it grounds your speculation. It's the difference between a truly grounded perspective and a wild guess.
All right, so we've diagnosed the problem, we've walked through the practice, and we've balanced it with rigor. But why does any of this really matter? What's the ultimate payoff? Well, it's all about creating what the sources call an expanded decision horizon. The decision horizon. That's the ultimate strategic advantage. So what is it? It's the time frame that you have to perceive what's happening, orient yourself, and make a move before the world forces your hand. The bigger your horizon, the more control you have. It's that simple. And the payoff when you expand that horizon, it's huge. You start anticipating change way earlier. You get to navigate all the complexity with a lot more calm and clarity because you're working off your own signal, not all the external noise. You stop making so many reactive decisions just to please people in the short term. And maybe the most powerful thing of all, you start creating new options instead of just executing the ones you're handed. So let's be really clear about what's at stake here. In a world where change is just coming at us faster and faster, the quality of a leader's decision horizon isn't just an advantage. According to the source material, it is the primary competitive advantage. Period. Full stop.
And I want to leave you with this final thought, this quote that really brings it all home. It frames this whole discipline as something much bigger than just better management. This is the work of leaders who intend not merely to navigate the future, but to create it. And that really leaves us all with a question to think about. Are you here to navigate, or are you here to create?